Everybody knows Amazon is the biggest online retailing company in the world. The company's become a household name, selling everything from books to groceries and kitchen equipment to clothing accessories. As of 2021, Amazon had hit the trillion-dollar market cap with an annual revenue of $61.9 billion and has over 97,000 employees. In all, you can say that Amazon has done quite well for itself in its 30 years of existence. However, as much as we would love to applaud Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon and its former CEO, for building this gigantic success through hard work, resilience, and innovation, serious allegations have been levied against Amazon in recent times. Jeff Bezos says that Amazon is Earth's best employer and Earth's safest place to work. But is that true? In this video, we'll show you how Amazon started and some disturbing truths about this company that helped its growth. In 1994, Jeff Bezos, who had been working on Wall Street, decided to quit his job. The reason? Jeff had discovered that an internet revolution was taking place, and he felt there was an opportunity right there. So he made a list of the top 20 products that he could potentially sell on the internet. After much deliberation, Jeff settled on books because of their low cost and universal demand. He then moved to Washington and founded Amazon, an online bookstore that operated from a garage at his residence in Bellevue. Interestingly, the company wasn't always Amazon. Jeff initially dubbed the business Cadabra, as in abracadabra, which is super weird. But after someone mistakenly called it Cadaver, Jeff decided to change the name to Amazon, after the enormous river in South America. Jeff and a few employees started developing the software for their site, and in July 1995, Amazon.com went live to the general public. Its first ever order, placed in April 1995, a few months before the website was launched, was for a science book titled Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies. It was a phenomenal time for the company. When Amazon went live, the company billed itself as Earth's biggest bookstore, even though sales were solely based on word of mouth. But maybe it was a prophecy, because within 30 days of launch, Amazon had started shipping across the US as well as 45 other countries. In the same year, Jeff raised an $8 million round of funding from Kleiner Perkins, and by the end of 1996, Amazon had racked up $15.7 million in revenues. In 1997, Amazon went public with $18 per share, raising $54 million. That same year, Jeff personally delivered Amazon's 1 millionth order to a customer in Japan who had ordered a Windows NT manual and a Princess Diana biography. Phenomenal growth. Phenomenal growth. The company was booming, but it wasn't enough for Jeff. So in 1998, Amazon expanded beyond books and started selling music CDs. And the following year, it added more product categories, including toys, electronics, and tools. By December 1999, Amazon had shipped 20 million products to 150 countries around the world. And that same month, Jeff was dubbed Person of the Year by Times Magazine. The following year, Amazon introduced a service that allows sellers and merchants outside the company to sell their products alongside Amazon's products. It was a brilliant idea that boosted the popularity and, of course, the profits of Amazon. While all this was going on, Amazon continued to expand its range of products, raking in more profits, which it didn't post until 2003. In 2007, Amazon debuted its Kindle e-reader, and 4 years later, it announced that it was selling more books than print books. Between 2006 and 2013, Amazon rolled out a variety of services, including cloud computing and video-on-demand services, a studio that develops movies and TV series known as Amazon Prime, an online marketplace for fine arts, and its tablet computer called Kindle Fire. In addition to its wide range of services, Amazon has also acquired a number of companies, including Zappos and Whole Foods. In 2015, Amazon beat Walmart to become the most valuable retailer in the US, and by
Amazon is now past Walmart as the biggest retailer in the United States.
And by 2018, the company hit the trillion-dollar market cap, making it the second US company after Apple Incorporated to achieve this milestone. One thing can be observed about Amazon is that the country grew so fast, but that shouldn't surprise you because that was the motto of its founder, Jeff Bezos, who later stepped down as CEO of Amazon in 2021. But the question is, at what cost? the brave new paradigm. There is an old saying that goes like this: the higher the monkey climbs, the more you see of its ugly side, and Amazon has certainly climbed incredibly fast, becoming the largest online retailer in the world. But only a few people have looked closely at this gigantic retailer, and there's no doubt that Jeff Bezos' idea of using electronic streamlining and systems management to sell everything from books to bicycles, barbecues to Barbies at a cheap, very cheap price, and at the same time undercutting competitors like Walmart is brilliant. But what is the source of this efficiency and cheap price admired and accepted by all? Did Amazon achieve this by being a virtual store, saving the costs of building, staffing, and maintaining brick-and-mortar outlets? Or is Amazon doing it the old-fashioned way, which means squeezing the life out of its workers and suppliers, crushing its competitors with monopolistic muscle, and manipulating national and state laws? It would have been nice to say it's the former, but the truth is it's the latter, and the brain behind it is none other than Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. Inside the Beast. Jeff was once called Person of the Year, but now that award has changed to the World's Worst Boss, a title given to him by the International Trade Union Confederation. He's been described by higher-ups in Amazon as a cold, controlling, and often vengeful boss with little empathy for the people who work for him. Even as far back as the 1980s, when Jeff worked on Wall Street, he was perceived as lacking the human touch, and it's this personality that has contributed to the growth of Amazon. To fully understand, we must look beyond Amazon's comfortable headquarters and observe what goes on in its warehouses, or fulfillment centers as they're called, where more than 97,000 employees work. There's only one word for working in these warehouses: hellish. Take the job of a picker, for example. In each warehouse, there are hundreds of them scrambling through a maze of shelves to pick products. The work is physically demanding because pickers are expected to speed walk an average of 12 miles every day to pick products and place them on the right track of the 7 miles of conveyor belts running through the facility. They do this with the help of a handheld computer. But the problem is the computer doesn't just tell them where to go, but also gives an allotted time it would take to get the product to its rightful place. So if the computer feels it would take you 5 minutes to get the product to its rightful position, you better speed walk as fast as you can, or even jog so you can get there within that time. Because if you don't, that's a big problem. You see, every picker has a target for each day, and Amazon has a point system that rates everybody's performance. If you score a few demerits, you get cancelled, and if you score more, you lose your job. Everything is also timed, monitored, and scored from beginning to end. And get this, lunch is just 29 minutes and 59 seconds, a fact workers are constantly reminded of again and again by the ever-present time monitors. And if they're not back to working 1 second after the allotted time for lunch breaks, they earn penalty points. Imagine working in this kind of environment for $10 to $12 an hour, an amount most of the workers don't even make because Amazon's warehouse employees are contingent hires, meaning they're temporary, seasonal, part-time laborers subject to the employer's whim. When sales are down, workers are let go, and when sales perk up, the managers demand you do a 12-hour shift with no notice. You must do it or be fired. And the big one is technically these workers don't work directly for Amazon. They're hired by temp agencies with Orwellian names like Amalgamated Giant Shipping that do Amazon's dirty work. What this means is that it gives Amazon plausible deniability about workers' treatment. It also means workers have no labor rights because technically they are independent contractors. So no healthcare, no vacation time, no scheduled raises, no promotion track, and of course no union. The question is, why are these workers putting up with this kind of treatment and work environment? It's simple. They need to take care of rent, food, and clothing. Jeff Bezos understands that millions of people are stuck in jobless depression with no way out, and so they have no choice but to take any job, even one as hellish as Amazon's. The truth is, Amazon has capitalized on this mass desperation, thriving on it to become the online giant it is today. The truth is, this truth is a big part of the magic behind its super cheap prices and super efficient delivery system. So, if you somehow remove this factor, Amazon would probably not be the giant it is today. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.
The high-octane world of Formula One. where speed isn't just a thrill, but a way of life. Strap in tight as we journey through the twists and turns of one man's remarkable story, a tale that reads like a Hollywood blockbuster. Picture this. January 23, 2017, Liberty Media steps up to the podium, dropping a jaw-dropping $4.4 billion to claim ownership of F1, putting an end to a 4-decade reign of one man who was the undisputed star of the show. Who was this mastermind behind the wheel? None other than Bernie Ecclestone. But let's rewind the tape a bit. Long before the big bucks and global dominance, Ecclestone was just a racing enthusiast with a dream. In 1951, a nasty collision with Bill Whitehouse sent him flying from the cockpit. But instead of throwing in the towel, Ecclestone took a detour into real estate while keeping a keen eye on the car business. Fast forward to 1957, and he's back in the game, this time managing driver Stuart Lewis Evans. But tragedy struck at the 1958 Moroccan Grand Prix, when Lewis's engine went up in flames, leaving Ecclestone reeling from the loss of a close friend. Yet amidst the turmoil, Ecclestone soldiered on, embodying the resilience that defines champions. The 60s were a turbulent time for Formula One. Teams were pushing the limits of innovation, but with innovation came a hefty price tag. Money was tight, and the sport relied heavily on manufacturers for support. And let's not forget the safety concerns plaguing the sport, with tragic accidents claiming the lives of legends like Wolfgang von Trips and Jim Clark. Ecclestone wasn't just a spectator in this drama, he was a key player, managing Y and Rin, and even partially owning Rin's Lotus Formula 2 team. Ecclestone was deeply entrenched in the heart of the racing world. But tragedy struck again when Rin lost his life in a crash at the Monza circuit in 1970. Casting a shadow over Ecclestone's triumphs. But Ecclestone wasn't one to back down from a challenge. As the 70s unfolded, he emerged as a driving force in F1, navigating the sport through the treacherous waters of financial uncertainty and global recession. His shrewd business acumen and unwavering determination were the fuel that kept F1's engines soaring. Fast forward to the 21st century, and Ecclestone's legacy looms large over the world of motorsport. Love him or hate him, there's no denying the indelible mark he's left on Formula One. From daring deals to high-stakes negotiations, Ecclestone's story is a testament to the power of passion and perseverance. In 1971, he swooped in and purchased Brabham Racing, kickstarting a revolution that would change the face of Formula One forever. With a keen eye for talent and an ironclad determination, Ecclestone turned Brabham into a force to be reckoned with. From signing top designers like Gordon Murray to securing star drivers like Nelson Piquet and Niki Lauda, Bernie was the driving force behind Brabham's meteoric rise. But what set Bernie apart wasn't just his knack for picking winners. It was his unparalleled attention to detail. From color-coded uniforms for mechanics to a relentless pursuit of perfection, Brabham set the standard for excellence on and off the track. And as the sport's popularity soared, so did Bernie's bank account. He understood the value of television rights long before anyone else, ensuring that Formula One became a global spectacle watched by millions. But Bernie wasn't content with just revolutionizing the racing scene. He wanted to shake up the entire industry. In 1974, he spearheaded the formation of the Formula One Constructors Association, cementing his status as a key player in the sport. And when he took the reins as CEO in 1978, alongside legal heavyweight Max Mosley, it was game over for his rivals. Together, Bernie and Max were a force to be reckoned with. While Mosley thrived in the political arena, Ecclestone had his sights set on the bottom line. They were a match made in heaven, or perhaps hell, depending on who you ask. Armed with a shared vision and a healthy dose of cunning, they took on the establishment and won. But Bernie's legacy isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about passion and perseverance. He saw the potential in Formula One when others saw only a sport. And thanks to his tireless efforts, F1 became more than just a race. It became a global phenomenon. Sponsorships poured in faster than a pit crew changing tires, as brands clamored to hitch their wagons to the Formula One phenomenon. With Bernie at the helm, the race promoters lost their bargaining power faster than a rookie driver spinning out on the first lap. In television networks, they needed Bernie more than a car needs gasoline. The man had the golden touch, turning Formula One into must-watch TV. But Bernie wasn't just raking in cash, he was wielding power like a seasoned pro. By striking annual TV rights deals covering every race, Bernie had broadcasters eating out of his hand faster than a driver hitting the accelerator. And get this, it was all Bernie's brainchild. The man was a strategic genius, outmaneuvering his opponents with the finesse of a Grand Prix champion. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the FIA, the sport's governing body, was content to let Bernie do the heavy lifting. Little did they know, Bernie was amassing power faster than a car rounding the final corner. With the OFCA, Bernie's brainchild, calling the shots, the FIA found themselves playing catch-up in a game they didn't even know they were in. But every hero needs a nemesis, and in 1978, Bernie met his match in the flamboyant Jean-Marie Balestre, the new president of the FIA. Determined to wrest control from Bernie and the British teams, Balestre declared war, setting the stage for a battle royale that would make the Monaco Grand Prix look like a Sunday drive. Picture this. Behind the scenes, when the cameras weren't rolling, a battle of wits unfolded between Ecclestone and the FIA president. It was a game of cat and mouse, with secrets and alliances lurking around every corner. Bernie, always one step ahead, tracked down the FIA president's calls, discovering a clandestine conversation with Lotus boss Colin Chapman. Sensing trouble, Bernie swooped in, charming Chapman with compliments and flattery, securing his allegiance with finesse. Talk about a strategic masterstroke. But Bernie's toolkit went beyond smooth talking. His personal connections with track owners and government officials gave him the edge when it mattered most. From cozying up to King Juan Carlos for control of the circuit to orchestrating negotiations in the dead of night, Bernie played the game like a seasoned pro. And when it came to bluffing, Bernie had nerves of steel. During the South Africa Grand Prix, when the FIA president declared the race wouldn't count towards the championship, Bernie didn't bat an eye. Instead, he rallied the teams, covered costs, and even provided tires out of his own pocket. Now that's what I call playing hardball. But Bernie's crowning achievement came in the form of the Concorde Agreement, a game-changing pact that reshaped the landscape of Formula One. With Enzo Ferrari by his side, Bernie dealt the final blow to his rivals, cementing his dominance in the sport. In 1995, Ecclestone's influence reached its peak when Max Mosley's FIA handed him the commercial rights to F1 for a jaw-dropping 15 years. Yep, you heard that right. One man, one sport, 15 years. It was a coronation of sorts, a nod to Bernie's unrivaled power over the destiny of Formula One. But Bernie was just getting started. In a move straight out of a playbook, he transferred ownership of his Formula One empire to his wife Slavica in 1996. Talk about a power move. This maneuver wasn't just about taxes. It was all part of Bernie's intricate plan to take Formula One to new heights. With the reins of Formula One now firmly in Slavica's hands, Bernie orchestrated a series of groundbreaking deals that reshaped the landscape of the sport. From negotiating a 10-year deal with the teams to inking a robust 15-year agreement with the FIA, Bernie was unstoppable. But Bernie wasn't just making waves in the boardroom. He was making headlines in the political arena too. With a cool $1 million donation to the Labour Party, Bernie showed that he wasn't afraid to play hardball when it came to lobbying the government. And let's just say it caused quite a stir. In 1999, Bernie executed another financial masterstroke, selling a chunk of his empire to Morgan Grenville Private Equity for a staggering $325 million. And just when you thought he couldn't top that, he sold even more of his stake to Hellman and Fredman for an eye-watering $725 million. But while Bernie's financial maneuvers may have raised a few eyebrows, there's no denying the impact he had on Formula One. From bringing new races to iconic tracks to revolutionizing the way the sport was televised, Bernie was the driving force behind Formula One's meteoric rise. But it wasn't all about the money for Bernie. He understood the dangers of the sport, having managed drivers like Stuart Lewis Evans and Jochen Rindt. His unwavering commitment to safety ushered in significant advancements, making Formula One a safer place for its daring protagonists. Yet like all great stories, Bernie's reign eventually came to an end when Liberty Media took over Formula One. But even in his departure, Bernie left his mark on the sport, paving the way for a new era of growth and innovation. From revamped logos to a newfound embrace of social media, Formula One has undergone a visual and digital transformation since Bernie's departure. And while the sport may have changed, Bernie's legacy lives on, reminding us all of the man who owned Formula One like no one else could.
The fascinating world of gold prices and their potential impact on the US dollar. Gold has always been a significant player in the global economy, but recent trends have sparked some intriguing questions. Is the surge in gold prices killing the US dollar? Let's break it down. First off, let's talk about India. Gold is a massive part of Indian culture and economy. Just like the American dream is to own a home, in India, the dream is to own gold. That's more gold than the central banks of the US, Germany, Italy, France, and Russia combined. For perspective, the US holds around 8,100 tons of gold, while Russia holds 2,332 tons. But Indian consumers alone hold a staggering 21,000 tons of gold. Now, in the past 6 months, if you've been watching the markets, you might have noticed something wild happening. The Indian stock market hit $5 trillion, overtaking Hong Kong. At the same time, gold prices in India reached an all-time high, soaring above 70,000 rupees. While the Sensex returned 8.33% and the Nifty 50 nearly doubled with a 99.92% return, gold prices shot up by an astonishing 16.16%. So why is this happening? One key reason is that central banks around the world are on a gold buying spree. Over the past 2 years, they've been stacking up tons of gold. For instance, India recently moved 100 tons of gold back from England. In recent years, India bought 69 tons, China bought a whopping 314 tons, Poland purchased 130 tons, Singapore grabbed 125 tons, and even the Czech Republic added 75 tons to their reserves. This global trend of gold hoarding has driven prices to unbelievable levels. So, why are central banks loading up on gold? What are the global factors at play, and should you consider investing in gold too? Back in the early 20th century, the world had already endured World War I, and by the late 1930s, World War II was in full swing. The infamous Treaty of Versailles, signed after World War I, set the stage for economic turmoil, which eventually contributed to the outbreak of World War II in 1939. The entire world united against Hitler and his regime, leading to the most devastating conflict in human history. At this time, the British Empire was a global superpower with vast colonies spread across the world. However, the economic toll of World War I and World War II had significantly weakened Britain's wealth. By the early 1940s, Britain's debt to GDP ratio had skyrocketed from 25% in 1914 to 220% in 1920, and further to 270% by 1942. Similar economic distress was seen in other major countries like France and the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, the United States played its cards wisely. Initially, the US stayed out of direct involvement in these wars, acting instead as a supplier of essential goods. America, untouched by the war's destruction, became a prosperous land of plenty. Cheap fuel and technological advancements powered a booming economy. American industry was perfectly positioned to dominate both domestic and global markets after the war. Here's where it gets interesting. While other empires were fully engaged in the war, diverting all their resources to the battlefield, the United States focused its capital and manpower on becoming a major supplier. They provided cotton, wheat, brass, rubber, automobiles, machinery, and thousands of other goods to the war-torn countries. This strategy led to one of the greatest economic booms in US history. US exports skyrocketed from $2.4 billion in 1913 to $6.2 billion in 1917. In the 1940s, the world had already experienced the devastation of World War I and was in the midst of World War II. The infamous Treaty of Versailles, which ended WW1, had set the stage for economic turmoil, eventually contributing to the outbreak of WW2 in 1939. By profiting from these costly wars, the US accumulated vast wealth. While other economies lay in ruins, the United States ended up holding 75% of the world's monetary gold. US gold reserves surged from around 2,000 tons in 1910 to nearly 20,000 tons by 1940. This unprecedented wealth set the stage for the United States to solidify its economic dominance. In 1944, the US convened a conference in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, gathering representatives from 44 allied nations. The goal was to establish a new international financial order and promote economic cooperation post-war. This meeting resulted in the Bretton Woods Agreement. Under the Bretton Woods Agreement, these 44 countries agreed to peg their currencies to the US dollar, which was in turn pegged to gold. This arrangement meant that 1 ounce of gold was worth $35, or 28.35 grams of gold equaled $35. The US promised to redeem dollars for gold, effectively backing the dollar with gold. This gave countries confidence in holding US dollars, knowing they could exchange them for gold. So, why did these countries agree to the Bretton Woods Agreement? The main benefit was stability. By pegging their currencies to the US dollar, countries gained a reliable exchange rate system, which facilitated international trade and investment. Additionally, backing the dollar with gold provided a sense of security, as gold was universally recognized as a valuable and stable asset. This system helped the US dollar become the dominant global currency, underpinning international financial stability for decades. The Bretton Woods Agreement laid the foundation for the modern global economy, with the US at its center. The Saudis were not wealthy in the early 1940s because their oil production was just beginning. During World War II, Italy bombed Saudi Arabia, targeting American oil facilities, which hampered the Saudis' ability to produce oil at full capacity. In desperate need of protection, Saudi Arabia sought help from the United States. In 1945, US President Franklin Roosevelt recognized the immense global importance of oil for the coming decades. He held a crucial meeting with the King of Saudi Arabia, resulting in a pivotal deal. The United States agreed to protect Saudi Arabia from future attacks and supply them with military equipment. In return, the Saudi king agreed to sell oil primarily in US dollars. This deal significantly boosted the rise of the Middle East and cemented the US dollar's role as the dominant global currency. By the 1960s, when oil-producing countries formed OPEC, all member nations started selling oil in dollars. However, recent geopolitical events and economic practices have led to a gradual decline in confidence in the US dollar. During the Russia-Ukraine war, the US froze $300 billion of Russian assets and $7 billion of Afghan assets after the Taliban took over. This move alarmed countries like China, which feared similar actions against their $797 billion in US Treasury bonds. As a result, China and other countries started buying large amounts of gold as a hedge against the potential devaluation of their dollar reserves. The US's frequent money printing has also contributed to the declining confidence in the dollar. For example, the US printed nearly $1 trillion during the 2008 recession, $4 trillion in 2020, and about $2 trillion in 2021. This excessive money printing leads to global inflation and reduces the value of the US dollar. Consequently, countries with significant dollar reserves, like China, see their reserves value diminish. Gold, being a finite and non-printable resource, retains its value, making it an attractive option for countries looking to preserve their wealth. The limited availability of gold, enough to fit in a 23-meter cube, ensures its value remains stable. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comments section.